Are your ad campaigns lighting up the dashboard, but not the pipeline? That's bullspend, and marketers are calling it out in Dashboard Confessions.
My boss asked for results, so I opened my dashboard for the only positive-sounding metric I had: impressions.
Cut the bull spend. See revenue, not just reach. LinkedIn delivers the highest return on ad spend of major ad networks. Advertise on LinkedIn. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a $250 credit. Go to linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, it's Bill from the Bill Simmons podcast. FIFA World Cup 26 fans, listen up. Is the official beer sponsor of the FIFA World Cup 26. Michelob Ultra is giving away $1 million worth of FIFA World Cup 26 tickets and prizes. Enter now at michelobultra.com/superior access/FIFA World Cup 26. Michelob Ultra FIFA World Cup 26 superior access. No purchase necessary. Open U.S. residents 21 plus begins on December 1st, 2025. Ends on July 31st, 2026. Multiple entry periods. Visit www.michelobultra.com/superior access/FIFA World Cup 26 for free entry deadlines, prizes, and details.
And we're live on match day as Doug reaches for a buffalo wing. He's got it! Oh, and he's gone for a can of Pepsi too! What a finish! There's no doubt about it. It just tastes better. Match days deserve Pepsi.
It's not quite the start Great British tennis hoped for at Wimbledon 2026. Late withdrawals and a serious lack of winners. I'm John.
And I'm Michael, and welcome to the All England Club on day one of the Championships.
We will discuss Raducanu, Draper and a run of British defeats so far.
And with no Alcaraz, the men's draw is wide open, but there's a certain Djokovic in there and a returning Serena Williams to look forward to as well.
This is Anything But Footy, the Olympics and Paralympic podcast from Wimbledon 2026.
This is becoming a bit of an annual tradition for you and I now.
It's all right, isn't it?
First day of Wimbledon, we get to come down to SW19, have a wander around, watch some tennis. And from a British point of view today, not been particularly good. We'll get on to that. But number one seed in the men's draw, Jannik Sinner, we've just been watching him, and he is through.
Yeah, it wasn't easy though.
No.
Of course, we haven't seen him since his rather shock defeat in the French Open, and he hasn't really played. Well, he hasn't played any tennis since then. I think he played a warm-up match last week at the Hurlingham Club, but he did come through. But it was 5 sets against Kecmanovic of Serbia. Jannik Sinner winning 4-6, 6-3, 6-7, 6-2, 6-3, and he also had a terrible fall at one point in the third set when he actually lost that third set on a tie-break. Seemed to strain his groin somewhat. Also, lots of blood on his trainer.
Yeah, it looks
as
like
well.
A blister or something.
Yeah,
there, didn't
so
it?
look, it wasn't easy, but he's through. He's the defending champion. First match on centre court. He is eventually through. I was going to say safely through, but he's eventually through, which is important, I think, for the men's draw, as we'll hear a bit later on in the podcast, because it is wide open.
Yeah, and you talk about the wide openness of that men's draw. A couple of men's seeds out today as well, in Casper Ruud and Andrei Rublev as well. So, I mean, if you are talking about a competition, a contest which is open, 2 more of the so-called big names gone there, it's anyone's championship, isn't it?
It really is. But the big news has been dominated, of course, by Raducanu and Jack Draper, while we were all here today pulling out as well. And you've been kind of getting some reaction to that.
We are in this lovely rooftop area of the All England Club, and we're overlooking court 18. And fresh from commentating on one of Britain's big hopes here at Wimbledon in this first round, Harriet Dart, was Katie Smith working for the BBC. Not to be, though, for Harriet today.
No, it was a match I had personally circled ahead of the first round and just written next to it aggro ? Because you got Harriet Dart, who's, had times on court, hasn't she, in the past where she can get a little bit tetchy, and she was up against the former Grand Slam champion Jelena Ostapenko, who is renowned for her histrionics in the centre of the court, let's say. And Harriet Dart played well in terms of it was a gutsy comeback from going a set down, helped out by a lot of unforced errors from Ostapenko. Serve was not really there for her today. I think the power of the Latvians sort of took over in the end. So came through in 3 sets. And shame for Harriet Dart, wild card. Has been struggling for wins on grass in general. So I think it's not a surprising result, but I think she'll be disappointed with sort of the manner of the comeback and then being right in that third set and then it sort of drifting away.
And the reason Harriet was on one of the show courts today was because we heard yesterday that Emma Raducanu had pulled out. Your reaction to that?
I mean, really gutted for her, just in the sense that I was watching her at Roland Garros, and that was a really hard watch. She's had so many injuries, as we all know, on and off over the last few years. She's never been able to really, it feels like, get to a stage where she has the fitness to compete consistently and with any teeth on tour. And watching at Roland Garros, the whole sense was, I'm coming here because I know I need to get some matches in, but grass is going to be the priority. And then we saw that run at Eastbourne, and I think there was a little bit of excitement over pairing back with I've forgotten his name, Richardson, the coach who took her to James Richardson, who took her to that US Open win. And then for this to happen again, I think the timing cruel, but also there's that sense of like, well, she was speaking to the media. Clearly that issue was there. I know colleagues watching her practice were saying that the movement was clearly impaired. So again, the decision to go through the media and then have to withdraw at the end. I know she did that earlier in the season on tour as well. A little bit confusing. It's just such a shame because I'm not sure what the answer is now for her to get that consistent fitness to be able to challenge, because we know what a talented player she is. She has that natural talent. It's just a case of being able to actually string some matches together and show us that she can do that now.
And do you think, obviously there's physical issues there, but do you think mentally it's beginning to get into her psyche as well?
Really hard to say. I mean, I've always been impressed by her ability. I think as she's growing up and she's been thrust into this spotlight, her ability to be able to deal with that. She talks about it, but I do actually think she handles it quite well. I know there's been some concern sometimes that maybe she has let that outside noise take over a little bit too much, and maybe she's not practicing as much as she should be with the intensity and the professionalism that other players say. Now, I'm not suggesting that's something I have kind of inside information of. I think that's just pure speculation over what we then see her produce on court. And I think I just wonder sometimes from the matches that I watch her play whether she's enjoying it. I just worry for her, still someone so young who had that incredible success so early, unprecedented, whether it would be better to step away, not from the sport completely, but just take herself away from the pressure and this kind of constant need to be back. And, you know, with the US Open coming up now, it's 9 weeks away, whether she'd be ready for that. You've got the Asian swing, we know she likes playing there. Or do you just say, right, this season is done, give me some time and then I'll come back? So that's what concerns me more, is just, I think it's really hard to watch someone not enjoying it when it's not going right? Yeah.
And you obviously were focusing on your first commentary match here at Wimbledon, but was the commentators' WhatsApp group going crazy with the news about Jack Draper, who pulled out while you were at work? Yeah,
no, you're totally right. And once again, saw that notification pop up and you just feel your heart drop. From a British perspective anyway, I think so much intrigue over the partnership with Andy Murray. It would have been great to see Murray back at Wimbledon in that new role. Obviously adds a level of scrutiny, but I think even more so than with Emma Raducanu, this heartbreak for Jack Draper that he is so desperately trying to get back to this position. I mean, he was world's top 5 last year, playing some of the best tennis of his life. And then to so cruelly, he has been patient as well. The nature of his injuries, this bone bruising, hard to say, is that you have to give it time. If you rush back, that's when these reoccurrences happen. And so I think he has been really patient. He's had to hold himself back, which as an athlete is not something you naturally do. So I think so heartbreaking, the timing of it, of course, on the eve of Wimbledon, but just the fact that he's itching to get back because he knows his top level is so high. And I think it must be so against your instincts as a top athlete to be sitting on the sidelines, like not practicing when you know that's the only way it's going to get better. So yeah, really gutted for him.
And will you be keeping a little eye out for tomorrow's commentary assignments, because we have a Williams sister back at Wimbledon? I guess that's one match that a lot of you will want to do.
Absolutely remarkable, isn't it, that she's there? I have to say, I don't think I'm going to be high up enough on the pecking order to get that one, but I'll certainly be watching it. What a moment. I think Wimbledon are just licking their lips that they managed to get this sorted, and also that it all played out the way it did with that final wild card, whether she was going to take it or not. It just has ratcheted up the drama, hasn't it? I mean, my big question, I think, as her coming back as a 44-year-old, she said, yes, I want my kids to be able to see me play, and they were going to be able to do that anyway in the doubles. The question I have is why? Why are you coming back in the singles at this time? Is it because you've been hitting so well on court that you think I'm going to give these players a run for their money? Is it because you've seen the openness and the state of women's tennis now, level is high but the chaos is wide, that you think you could really make some dents here? Or is there something else we don't know? Because I still personally think there's going to be something kind of uncomfortably sad about watching her maybe struggle physically on court, as we did when she was wrapping up her career the first time. Maybe she's got a win in her against Maya Joint, who's been really struggling for wins, but once you put her against someone like Iga Swiatek, is that just going to be such a huge disparity that actually we'll go, oh, you know what, we love you, Serena, but time to just step away gracefully again? I don't know. That's my perspective. I know a lot of people are very optimistic, and isn't it great for so many of the players, I think particularly those youngsters who call her the GOAT, the greatest of all time, they actually get to see her back out again. That's pretty cool.
Well, Katie Smith, BBC commentator, great to have you on Anything But Footy. Thanks very much. Have a good Wimbledon.
Thank you very much. You too.
Michael talking to Katie Smith. Quite a dramatic day with Draper coming out, and as we heard there from Katie, I think Jack's really been struggling just to get himself back into a place, and he thought maybe with a bit of magic from Andy Murray that he would get there, but you just worry in kind of from a mental point of view how difficult it is to not be playing the sport that you know you're so good at.
Yeah, and having been a semi-finalist at the Grand Slam as well, I mean, I know not quite the heights that Emma Raducanu, who obviously we were also talking about there, but I think a lot of parallels that we can draw between the two of them, and I think the mental side of it is something that we discussed there, Katie and I, and something that you and I have discussed here. When does something that is physical, when is something that's a niggle, when is something that is playing you up a little bit, when does that start getting inside your head? I mean, you look at Emma Raducanu's run since a brilliant, wonderful US Open victory. Take nothing away from what she did and what she achieved, but she just hasn't reached anywhere near those heights again, really. And we saw a decent run, didn't we, in one of the warm-up tournaments at Queen's. You know, she got to the semi-final and came through that with a bit of an injury and got to the final. Obviously couldn't get over the line. We were exchanging messages on the day going, this could be the first time we get a British winner at Queen's and then at Wimbledon since 1969 or whatever it was, whatever the history is. But yeah, I mean, also the toing and froing and the will she, won't she that sort of goes alongside Emma Raducanu. And I know I've seen and read a few people today going, you know, there's more to Wimbledon, there's more to British tennis than Emma Raducanu, but this place always needs a British story. Certainly in my lifetime, it's always needed that British story. Now, that might have been, and it was in my lifetime, Virginia Wade in 1977. Yep. You know, for my sort of formative years watching these championships, it was Jeremy Bates. And if we got into week two, then we went through the Henman era, the Andy Murray era, and I think we were thinking the Raducanu would become symbolic with Wimbledon moving forward. It just hasn't quite happened yet, and obviously, as we were saying there, it hasn't for Jack Draper either. And
it was exactly the same with Jack. They have to go through this media, and they have to come and speak to the media, like Emma did, and say, well, yeah, we're ready to compete. But then you just can't do it, and it's probably right that you pull out ahead of it, rather than we saw a few retirements today where people have come out and played a set and a half and bagged their money and taken their cash away. And in some ways it's right that Raducanu and Draper haven't done that, and they've allowed lucky losers to come through. Yeah, I think there's 2 points on that, and you make a couple of really valid points there. One, you do prevent, if you know that you're not going to be able to finish that match, you do prevent two people with the opportunity. Could be a once in a lifetime opportunity, could be a life-changing amount of money opportunity, and you do prevent them coming into the draw. And you know, there is obviously questions around that. Then obviously the money side of it, are you just coming here to claim your prize money? Because if you walk out to court and you start the match, you can get your first round loser prize money if that's it. Does Jack Draper, does Emma Raducanu need that sort of money? Probably not. There will be players that have come in to replace them that may need that money.
I don't expect it's a very cheap thing to do, being on the professional tennis tour.
We heard from Katie that Harriet Dart, who replaced Raducanu on court number 1 against Ostapenko, eventually lost, of course, in 3 sets, 6-3, 3-6, 6-4. Cameron Norrie, we talked about men's shocks, another seed falling as well to Michael Zheng, the qualifier from the US. So he'd won 3 matches last week at qualifying, and he's carried that on here at Wimbledon in the main draw. 6-7, 6-2, 6-7, 6-3, 7-6 victory over the 26th seed Norrie, who was, of course, a semi-finalist in 2022. Nowhere near getting back to that kind of form, and unfortunately a lot of British defeats as well. We saw Mika Stojkovic losing 6-1, 6-2 to Bencic of Switzerland. Max Basing, who lost the first match.
Yes, that's the one I went to see early on when we got it this morning.
Yeah, 6-3, 6-love for the British number 21. Mentioned Harriet Dart. Felix Gill, the 23-year-old from Redditch, also losing 3-6, 3-6, 5-7 as well. So it's not been a great start from a British point of view, but the men's draw is wide open.
Yeah, it is, and I think we've seen Jannik Sinner, as we were talking about, come through. Really tough match today. I mean, Novak Djokovic is at the other end of the draw. It's been 4 years since Novak Djokovic has won here. We know, obviously, that we don't have some of the other big names, as we've already said, like Carlos Alcaraz. And you've been finding out a little bit more from another one of our commentary colleagues about what he thinks might happen over the next 2 weeks here.
So I'm joined by Nick Lester, BBC commentator, and a big fortnight ahead. How exciting is it, Nick, to have the Wimbledon Championships? And is it the highlight? We think it's the highlight, but is it the highlight of the tennis circuit?
It's one of 4. Let me put it like that. It's one of 4, JC. Love Wimbledon, obviously. Very unique in the surface makes it unique. Not too many players have experience playing on grass, which separates it from the others. Obviously, if you compare it to Roland Garros and the Aussie Open and the US Open, where I think more of the field feel like they can play on those surfaces. Not always the case at Wimbledon. Very special with the grass. I think it's changed over the years a little bit as well, in that obviously there are fewer players that play well on grass. It's become, the surface has slowed down, that's no big secret, so the conditions have become a little bit slower, but there are fewer players definitely who feel comfortable on this surface, so that narrows the field down a little bit in terms of who can win, and you get a few more surprises along the way. But yeah, to answer your first question, of course it's special. It's the pinnacle of the sport still, in terms of the big picture. It's the one everybody wants to be at. You go out and you walk from Southfield Station and you hear all nationalities, which makes it, you know, it's the one that people want to be at, quite simply.
And I want to talk to you about the men's draw in particular, but you talk about this is the one everyone wants to win. The fact that Serena Williams is here this year as well, there's always a surprise with Wimbledon. They always throw up a curveball.
Yeah, they do. And Serena obviously is going to be centre of attention, without doubt. Rumour had been circulating for a while. She put herself back on the anti-doping list end of last year. That news broke, and then there were obviously pretty strong suggestions that she wanted to play. Some talk about the Olympics in LA being a focus for her. We'll see. You know, clearly having been born and bred in Compton, in that part of the world, she would be pretty special for her to go to LA, I think. Whether she can do it physically in singles is a big question mark. 44 years of age. Doubles, you're covering half the court, obviously. Singles, physically this game now is probably as tough as it's ever been. You know, players are looking after their bodies a lot better. The recovery has become so much better. There's so much knowledge around that. So the physical side of the sport has developed a lot since probably even she played 7 or 8 years ago. So I think singles is a big ask. She's got a pretty good draw here. The draw was very kind to her. Maya Joint's only won 2 matches all year. So if whoever she could have played, probably Maya Joint would have been in the mix, I think. And then we see from there. But, you know, I think it's about just growing for her, getting some matches and seeing where her body's at.
So we know that Carlos Alcaraz is missing for the men's draw. Jannik Sinner, of course, defending champion, and would expect him to go a long way in, but he may not. He hasn't obviously played for a while since losing at the French. But what about the rest of the men's draw? The fact that there's no Alcaraz, does it open it up?
Yes, definitely. I mean, we were coming into Roland Garros, John. We were looking at pretty much a one-man field with Sinner. That didn't happen, didn't materialise. The heat got to him there. He couldn't handle it effectively, so that was a bit of an issue for him. Field-wise, you still have Sinner as the standout favourite, defending champion, proved himself on grass for the first time last year, has taken a break. Was due to play in Halle in Germany the week before, but decided not to do that. He played a match at Hurlingham last week, so he's the standout favourite. Let's not make any bones about it. Rest of the field, you've got Zverev coming here, having won the French. Record on grass is poor. Obviously, what winning a major finally at 29 years of age has done for him in terms of giving his confidence a huge lift and taking the pressure off his shoulders has got to be a factor. You would hope he's going to play more in a more relaxed fashion now with that burden of expectation done. So he's someone you'd look to, but his record on grass is poor. Not played well on this surface over the years. Taylor Fritz I'll be looking out for. Had a difficult spring. Took 2 months out of the game with a knee injury. Still nursing that knee injury, but he's getting there. Semi-finals last year. Loves the grass. The likes of Daniil Medvedev have struggled at the majors lately, but if he can get his teeth into this event, he'll be a factor. Plays Cilic in the first round. It's a tough first round, but Marin's late 30s now, so you'd have to think that Medvedev will be in the mix. And you know what? We've had in men's tennis over the last 6 to 9 months, we've had a real kind of burst of youth. Rafa Hodar has come through. Martin Landerluthe has come through. There's been a whole host of teenagers that have made breakthroughs in men's tennis, which has been exciting. But again, I go back to what I said earlier on. These young guys have not played a lot on grass. So maybe if we're at another major here, we're talking about something else. But their experience will grow from this event. But men's tennis, the dynamic in men's tennis of late has been very much, this year in particular, about the movement of the young guys that have made their move. We've got a lot of 19, 20, 21-year-olds that have made good progress this year into the top 100, and they are threatening to make that next move.
And we can't let you go without talking about Djokovic. I mean, we talk about Serena at 44, Djokovic 39, 7-time winner, 7th seed, I think he is for this as well. Has he got a chance?
And he's barely played. That's what you remember. 7th seed and has barely played this year. He's played 3 events, 4 events, as was the same last year. Australia was incredible this year. The way he beat Sinner in the semi-finals, nobody saw that coming. But he still has a remarkable ability to obviously believe in himself and play at the highest level. And he is, the one thing that's changed with Djokovic over the years is he plays so loosely now. He's so relaxed. He's got nothing to prove. If you go and watch him play, everything he just lets hang out. He engages with the crowd. There is nothing he needs to prove to anybody. The Olympic gold medal he won 2 years ago cemented his legacy. It was the one thing missing from his resume, and it was the one thing he finally got his hands on. Ever since then, he's played relaxed, he's played carefree, and the tennis he produced in Australia was arguably some of the best tennis we've ever seen from him. Even in the opening set of the final when he lost to Alcaraz, ended up coming up short physically in 4. Going into the French Open this year, he wasn't ready physically. He says he's ready here. Often for these guys, the first week is about building momentum. They use the first week to build up the reserves. I think it'll be the case here for him. He plays Yu Weibing today, a Chinese player who will rush him. He'll take the ball early, but I would certainly not be surprised to see Djokovic in the semis here, minimum.
And final question. We mentioned Serena, you mentioned Djokovic. It's so hard to give up tennis, isn't it? Once you've got to that level.
Yeah.
And because what do they do afterwards?
Yeah, I agree. And I think someone like Novak obviously simply loves the sport still. That's his love of the game is just purely about competing. He wants to be on the biggest stages. You cannot replicate that, not just in tennis, I think, JC, but I think in a lot of sports we see that, right? It's that buzz. You can't replicate that buzz. You can't, the energy that you get. And he still loves playing. And if we look at it, if you look at the big 4, Murray would still be playing if it wasn't for his body. Federer's back went, he would still be playing. The knee went, the back went. And Nadal simply, his body simply said no. So those big 3 all retired because physically they could no longer do it. He's not in that scenario. He still has the body, and therefore he's still competing.
So that was John speaking to another one of our commentary colleagues who you might be hearing on the television over the next couple of weeks, Nick Lester, who it's been absolutely fantastic to hear, along with Katie, on the podcast, getting their insights. And as we said, they're going to be here, they're going to be watching it and describing it all for us.
And I think from a British point of view, we need see some youngsters coming through. We've got Hannah Klugman in action, Katie Bolter, of course, on day 2. But really, as we heard, Serena Williams is going to be the story for the next kind of 48 hours or so.
Yeah, I mean, look, great sporting events needs great stories. I thought what Katie was saying about Serena's motivation for being here, I don't think we quite know that, and we might find that out in the next couple of days. I would just go back to what I think a lot of sporting people have told us, elite sporting people have told us. It's very difficult to say goodbye and to say goodbye permanently. And, we've had that conversation with Ellie Simmons in the swimming pool, with Tom Daley in diving. You were with Max Whitlock. I mean, there's a perfect example of someone that made such a big announcement pre-Paris. We all did the retirement interviews. We saw the tears, and then 2 years later, he's back. It's tough. It's tough to give it up and walk away. And I think if you think you can still be competitive, then come back. If you want to find out if you can still be competitive, better to come back and find out. As Katie was saying there, if she isn't up to it, Serena Williams, well, at least she will have answered those questions.
You can keep up to date, of course, following us on socials throughout Wimbledon as well. And coming up later this week, we've got more Olympic and Commonwealth Games news to come as well. So make sure you stay with us for that. This is Anything But Footy, the Olympic and Paralympic podcast.